Have you ever noticed how much of your life is spent trying to stop people from leaving? Maybe you've never said it out loud. Maybe you would never admit it even to yourself, but your behavior already tells the story. Someone becomes slightly quieter than usual, and something in you shifts. Not dramatically at first, just a small internal alert. They take longer to reply, and your mind doesn't stay neutral. It starts working without permission. Maybe they're losing interest. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe I'm being replaced. And suddenly, you're no longer in the present moment. You're in your head, replaying conversations that are already gone, analyzing messages like they contain hidden meanings. You check their last scene. You hesitate before sending your next text. You rewrite it. You delete it. You send it anyway. Then you wait. It feels like you're protecting the relationship. But in reality, you're reacting to discomfort you don't know how to sit with. The uncomfortable truth is this. Most people don't lose relationships because they stop caring. They lose them because fear starts speaking louder than awareness. Fear makes you rush when you should wait. Fear makes you explain when you should stay quiet. Fear makes you chase when you should observe. And slowly, fear starts making decisions for you. And the painful part is, fear always feels justified in the moment. You send that extra message just to check. You ask if everything is okay, just to be sure. You over-explain yourself, just so there's no misunderstanding. But what you're actually doing is trying to buy temporary emotional safety, and it never lasts. You get the reply you were anxious about, and for a moment, your body relaxes. Your chest loosens, your mind goes quiet. You think, okay, everything is fine. But that peace is short-lived, because now your brain learns a pattern. Uncertainty to panic to reassurance to temporary relief. And the cycle repeats. This isn't love. It's emotional conditioning. Imagine holding water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers. Not because the water changed, but because your grip did. Relationships behave the same way. Let's make it real. Think of a woman named Lina. She's in a relationship where everything started beautifully. Late-night calls, random voice notes. Effort felt mutual. She felt chosen. But slowly, she notices a shift. He replies slower. He becomes less expressive. Not necessarily cold, just less present. And Lina starts adjusting. She becomes more available, more understanding, more patient. She starts initiating every conversation because silence feels heavier than rejection. One day, he takes hours to reply. And instead of continuing her day, Lina's entire mood collapses around that one gap. She opens her phone repeatedly. She rereads his last message. She imagines scenarios that don't exist. Eventually, she sends, "Did I do something wrong?" And in that moment, she doesn't realize she's not asking a question. She's asking for relief. Now shift perspective. A man named Omar goes through something similar. His partner starts pulling away slightly. Not leaving, just emotionally inconsistent. Some days warm, some days distant. Omar reacts by increasing effort. More messages, more reassurance, more planning, more emotional availability. He believes consistency will fix inconsistency, but what actually happens is subtle. The relationship loses oxygen. Because emotional connection needs space to breathe, not constant maintenance. One evening, she cancels plans. Old Omar would have responded with questions, concern, maybe even subtle guilt. Is everything okay between us? But this time he replies, "All right, take care." No emotional chase, no hidden message, no panic disguised as politeness. And then he does something unfamiliar. He stops waiting with tension. The first night is uncomfortable. His phone feels heavier than usual. He keeps checking it without meaning to. His mind says, if you don't follow up, you'll lose her. But he doesn't act on it. Instead, he notices something important. Urgency is not truth. It's emotion pretending to be truth. And that week, something shifts in him. He reconnects with old friends. He goes to the gym even when he doesn't feel motivated. He cleans his space. He rebuilds parts of his identity that had been quietly paused. And slowly, without force, his emotional center stops orbiting one person. Now here's the part people misunderstand. This is not about becoming cold. It's not about playing games. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about removing desperation from your behavior. Because desperation always communicates one message, even when you don't say it. I am not okay unless you are close to me. and that changes how people experience you. Let's take another real-life example. A teacher constantly overfunctions in class, always available, always extending deadlines, always responding instantly to every student request. At first, students appreciate it, then it becomes expectation, then it becomes pressure. And eventually, when the teacher finally sets a boundary, students react with confusion or even frustration, not because the boundary is wrong, but because the absence of it trained dependency. Now contrast that with a teacher who is supportive but structured, who helps but doesn't rescue, who is present but not endlessly accessible. That teacher is respected differently, not more loved necessarily, but more understood. The same principle repeats in friendships. There's always that one friend who only shows up when they need something. You reply quickly, you adjust your plans, you tell yourself, that's just how they are. But over time, something quiet happens. You stop feeling like a priority in your own time. Now imagine you stop initiating for a while. No anger, no announcement, just silence. And what you discover is not always what you hope for, but it is what's real. Sometimes they return, sometimes they don't. But clarity is always better than confusion dressed as connection. Let's go deeper. Think of a father and his teenage daughter. He keeps asking questions. How was your day? No answer. What are you doing? Silence. Why don't you talk to me anymore? The more he pushes, the more she retreats. Until one day, he changes strategy completely. He stops interrogating. He starts existing near her without pressure. Cooking in the kitchen, reading nearby. Speaking only when needed, not when anxious. Days pass. Then one evening, she sits next to him and starts talking, voluntarily. Not because pressure increased, but because pressure disappeared. That's the paradox. Connection doesn't grow under force, it grows under safety. And emotional safety cannot exist where anxiety is constantly leading behavior. So when you zoom out, the real question is not, how do I make someone stay? It becomes, what version of me only exists when I am afraid of losing people? Because fear-based behavior is not sustainable intimacy, it's emotional survival mode. And survival mode always costs you something, your clarity, your peace, and slowly, your self-respect. The shift happens when you realize you are allowed to care deeply without chasing. You are allowed to miss someone without collapsing. You are allowed to love without losing yourself in the process. And when that internal shift happens, everything external begins to reorganize around it, not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped abandoning yourself to keep others close.